Welcome to Refuge Freedom Stories, brought to you by Refuge Ministries Canada. For the next half hour, your hearts will be filled with hope as you hear real-life stories of people who have been changed by the power of God. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to Refuge Freedom Stories. I'm your host, Johnny T., and today my guest is Nathan Walters. Nathan is the president of Mission Discovery. He is passionate about spreading the love of Christ through global missions and strives to equip our generation with the tools and resources necessary to share their faith throughout the world. He's also passionate about inspiring others to live out their faith in practical, meaningful ways. Nathan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Good to be here.
It's awesome to have you here. I was looking at your website about what Mission Discovery does and all that kind of thing. And so I wanted to start with your journey of faith, because you don't just step into the role that you have at a missions function without some background in God leading you and guiding you to that point. So let's walk it back a few years, however many years you want to go, to where you really came to that place where you realized that you needed Christ as your Savior, and then how He started to open those doors for you.
Yeah, I'll walk it back all the way. So when I was 9 years old, I had two sisters. They were 7 and 5. And we experienced a tragedy when we were really young. Our mom died real suddenly. And it was an act of violence. And it was terrible for us. And we experienced total darkness in our lives. And her parents, my grandparents, lived right next door to us. And my dad was actually injured as well in the incident. So he couldn't work that year. And so what ended up happening was my dad filed for bankruptcy. We didn't have any money. My grandparents sat us down at Christmas time and said, hey, big guy might not be coming around this year with all the gifts, because we didn't have any money. I mean, we were completely broke. So they were just kind of forewarning us this Christmas was going to be different. It wasn't going to be like the ones that we had seen in the past. And we woke up Christmas morning and we go out to the tree. And the only way that I can describe this is like a giant box that a refrigerator must have come in full of toys. I mean, like things, Barbie dolls, G.I. Joe, all the things that you can imagine. I got 2 microscopes. I'm not a science guy, but I got 2 microscopes. And it was just anything you can imagine, it was there. So my sisters and I were kind of stunned. And what had happened was we had a neighbor across the street, little old lady named Lois. I think she was 93 for like 70 years. I mean, she was old. And she had gone to her little Salem Baptist church around the corner and told them the story of us 3 kids losing our mom, almost losing our dad, and the struggles that we were seeing. We weren't going to have Christmas. And that little church, I mean, they gave out of the abundance of their heart. I know people in my community, nobody had much. Like what little they gave meant the world to me. They didn't know what they were doing at that time. They were planting a seed in my life, because what I saw in that box of gifts was not G.I. Joes and Barbies. What I saw in that box of gifts was the presence of God. At that time, I didn't know what God that church served. I had no clue. But I knew that whatever God that was, I wanted to be a part of that, because that was a movement that was generous, and it brought so much joy and light into the darkest moment of our lives. I knew that I wanted to be a part of whatever that was. So from then on, my dad, after he recovered, he got us into church, and my sisters and I, got into youth group. And it's kind of like my path was pretty straightforward from then on until college. A couple years got a little wonky. I only went to college, physically, in person for a year. But I never messed up too bad. But there were times in my life past that I was like, okay, I'm not on the path that God wants me to be on. I know I'm not. And so I would wake up and be like, I know the truth, and I'm not living in it. And it was a conscious decision every day. Hey, I need to get back to the truth. We could talk about the rest of my story moving forward, but I can point to that moment specifically in my life and say God met me there. It was a wake-up call. It was a moment when I decided this God is who I need to follow.
Yeah, I talk to a lot of people, and there are so many times where people have said, I knew I wasn't right. I knew there was something wrong. I knew that. And we've all experienced that to some level and degree, height or depth, whatever it is. And God is just so faithful to reach us. He's so loving and so purposeful in finding ways to speak to our heart and put us back on that narrow path to that life with Him, because that's where our real purpose is, right?
Yeah, that's it. You're never too far, That's what I found. That's what I share with my friends. It's like, I always tell people, I'm not big enough to mess up God's plan. I'm just not. No one is. No one's that big. God's got a plan for your life. He has a plan for my life. And I'm just not big enough to mess that up. So whatever I've gone through, he's going to use it for his good, for his glory, for his kingdom. And I'm going to wake up and start moving forward toward him. I try to encourage people. No one is that big. You're just not that big.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And sometimes people get overwhelmed with the heaviness of their life apart from God, or the guilt and the shame, or whatever it is. And yet I always like to encourage people, you know what? You're never going to surprise them. Right? He already has seen all of this. He already knows all about it. He already knows what you chose to do, or what's been done to you, or what you've experienced. You're not going to surprise him. So just come to him openly and honestly and say, God, here I am, mess it all, and take the good and leave the rest behind, and let's move forward on
That's
this path.
it. That is it. I mean, the Bible is full of those stories, right? The God chooses to use the broken people. And there's no one that's not broken, but the examples that you have in the Bible are just like, if anyone should have been struggling with shame and guilt and just deciding not to follow God because they're just too messed up, it's the people that we read about, the heroes that we read about in the Bible. You could list them all, but that's a perfect example. King David, he messed up quite a lot, but he had a heart after God. So, yeah.
That's the key, having a heart after God in the midst of whatever we're going through, before or even after. Sometimes when we ask the Lord into our heart, there's a saying that says you can't eat a fish until you clean it, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
So you got your life all settled with the Lord, and you started feeling that drawing. But how did he draw you into missions?
Like I said, we grew up with nothing. That didn't change for a long time, or ever, really. Where I grew up, the whole community, there weren't a lot of people that had money in my community. I'll just say that. And so everybody kind of stayed near home. That was kind of just what you did. And I remember being in a Sunday school class at church, and the Sunday school teacher said, "What do you want to do when you grow up? Or what do you want to do with your life?" A classic question a Sunday school teacher is going to ask you. And one of the guys said, "I'm going to be a missionary." And my thought was, why would anyone want to leave Richmond, Virginia? It's like, we're just so boxed in. That's the way we think. My whole family still lives there. I live in Tennessee now. But it was just all that to say, like, there was no part of me that would ever have thought I would be even close to doing what I'm doing today, but going on a mission trip, period, or doing anything missional, period, because that requires travel, and travel costs money, and money is not something that we have. So it was pretty impossible for me. And so the first time that I got invited to go on a mission trip, I actually had someone say they wanted to pay for me, which was mind-boggling. It was because I was volunteering with this organization, and they just thought I should go on this trip. Anyway, that didn't end up happening. But what did happen was, out of that came another trip, and that was to Uganda. And I was able to go on that trip through some fundraising of people and things like that. But it blew my mind. The fact that I could even go on this thing blew my mind. What blew my mind more was going and being completely shocked, completely amazed. My heart was alive, like I was waking up to the Spirit of God. I was seeing him move in ways I'd never seen before. It was just incredible. If anyone listening to this has been on a trip like that, going from familiar to unfamiliar, and you've seen all these images on TV and stuff, and now you're seeing it face to face, and you're meeting people, and you're with the children, and you're with the families, and you realize you're not that different. You know what I mean? You're people like they're people, and you're on some opposite sides of the world, but you each have stories. Something came alive in me that trip. That was 2007. I came home. I was like, man, this is what I want to do. I had no clue. There was no path to that. I moved to a new place, and then in 2009, 2 years later, I had a roommate that I went to church with, this guy that was with this organization called Mission Discovery. I'd never heard of Mission Discovery before. And they invited my roommate to come on a trip to lead worship. My roommate said, "Hey, I want to bring my friend Nathan with me." And so I was able to go on that trip to Mecate, Mexico. Same thing. My heart became awake to the Spirit of God that was moving through this organization, Mission Discovery. It was something unreal, and I was seeing it and being a part of it, and just the same experience, just, a little closer. And so I came back and I called up Mission Discovery. They don't know who I am. So I called them up and I said, "Hey, I really want to meet with somebody about coming to work with you guys." This was August in Tennessee, and it's 85 degrees out here. It was hot. So they said, yeah, we'll meet you. I didn't have a car. So I got on my bicycle that I got from Walmart and rode in the middle of August to see them. I mean, I came in drenched in sweat, and I'm just talking to them. I'm supposed to come work for you guys. And they said, yeah, we're going to have to pray about it. And it took 5 years until I was sitting in a seat at Mission Discovery full time. But that was the path that God had me on, you know, and it was a classic story that you read in the Bible, the waiting period and things like that. It's just, the classic waiting period. But it was 5 years that I needed to grow in Christ. And I appreciate that so much.
Yeah, Hebrews 11:1, right? Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And I always like to put yet at the end, end of that, because God always puts something on our heart. And then there, like you said, there's that time of wilderness where He's got that vision, that purpose there, but He's not done dealing with us until we're ready. And when we're ready, then those doors just open up dramatically sometimes for what He wants to do with us, right?
Yeah, and I would say maybe even you're not ready yet. When He opens the doors and you're still not ready, you know, it's like there's a lot of learning I do every day, and certainly have walked through doors that I thought I am nowhere near prepared to be doing what I'm doing. And somehow God makes it happen, you know. It's full dependence on Him. In my weaknesses, He is strong, and that's just the faith that I walk with every day. You know, it's like, you got to be strong, God, because I'm showing up pretty weak today, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the Christian life. And that's the way it should be, because if we try and do it in our own strength and we try and do it in our abilities, then it's really not necessarily God that's achieving anything.
There's a lot of ego that can get trapped up in there.
Yeah.
It's like, if I can do all this on my own, why do I need God? You know, and I would say I'm not capable to do this job. It is only by God and God's grace that I'm able to do what I do.
Yeah, 100%. Lost to hear that for sure. It was interesting when I read through your website and I looked at the different mission opportunities that were there. So your website has a lot of third world countries, if we want to call them that, where there are obvious dire mission needs and so on.
Yeah.
But what struck me was that you had a lot of mission opportunities in the continental U.S. And of course, you've got the hurricanes have hit in certain places there and other things. But yet there were also places within the U.S. that just like homeless situations or other things, like almost like a Habitat for Humanity type thing where you build homes and shelters and other things. So what inspired you to start reaching out into those areas?
Well, yeah. So Acts 1:8 says that you will be my witnesses in Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. And so basically, if you look at that verse, it's talking about there are witnesses kind of close to you, a little bit further from you, and then to the ends of the earth. And so at Mission Discovery, that's always been kind of a goal of ours, is to not only work in places that we know, there's definite need in Africa or things like that. We know that. Everybody knows that. But we don't want to forget our neighbors, you know? So we're based out of Nashville. We've always had trips in Nashville and even Westmoreland, Tennessee, various places in Tennessee. And then we'll go regional. We'll go to Asheville, North Carolina, where the hurricane happened this year. We had 300 people served there this summer. We'll go other places domestically, and then we'll go to the ends of the earth, which is the international trips. So really, that's kind of the backstory on that. We do want to serve those internationally, but we also don't want to forget our neighbors. So often in times too, a lot of these trips are born out of natural disasters. We're not a natural disaster organization. No, we're not like the first wave that comes in. If you are stuck on the roof in the middle of a hurricane, call the Coast Guard. That's not us.
Yeah.
You know, there are organizations that do a great job with like immediate cleanup and immediate resources. That's not us. Inevitably, what we've seen with these natural disasters is that, you know, generally about 3-4 weeks after they happen, the media leaves. Generally, a couple weeks after that, a lot of the help leaves. And then you've got residents that have lost everything and they have no help. And so what we do is a few months later, we'll come in and our sole purpose, and it's to serve them however they need to be served. We've built sheds. We've helped rebuild in Asheville. But it's the main purpose is to make sure that they know that they're not forgotten by God. Somebody once said that Mission Discovery catches the ones that fall through the cracks. And that's sort of what we do, you know. In Asheville this year, like I said, we had 300 people served there this summer. That's 6 months, 7, 8 months after the hurricane, something like that. And these are all people that have been stranded and left with little to no help. So we want to make sure that we're still shining a light where it's very dark for them.
Yeah, that's so important. At those times of desperation in somebody's life, all they need is someone to reach out a hand to them as God's hand and just say, let me help you. Let me
Mm-hmm.
point you in the right direction. Let me give you some food. Let me give you my coat off my back. Let me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's those things that, like you said, they've lost everything, but you can still offer them hope in a tangible way.
Yeah.
As you said, with your box of Christmas gifts.
Mm-hmm.
That was your old lady neighbor's mission field.
Mm-hmm.
And that was how she met that need in your mission field by
Mm-hmm.
giving you that box of gifts.
I am living a full circle life.
Yeah,
That's,
I bet.
I'm like, I was the recipient of a church's outreach, basically. A church saw a need. They met a need. They helped me remember that God had not forgotten me in the midst of the darkest moment of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And now I get to make sure that's happening for other people. It's incredible.
Oh, I would imagine. And I'm sure that you have quite an interest from a lot of believers that want to get involved in your ministry.
People love us. Yeah. People love serving. So that's a good thing.
Well, that's a good measure of someone's heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus served.
Yeah, I always say
we need to serve too.
That's it. I always say I get to meet the best people in the world. And it really is true. People that are coming on mission trips are the best people in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was one of the things or one of the missions that you've been involved with through the ministry that really touched your heart, that really expressed the love of God to the people that were there?
It's hard to pick just one.
I'm sure it is. Let me put it this way.
I got it. I'm just thinking here. Yeah. Because there's a lot that I can say. There's a lot I can say. I can tell you about a little girl named Valerie. Valerie was a little girl in a little town outside of Antigua, Guatemala. And we've been building homes there for years now. And so at one time, we built her and her family a home. And so she got the chance to receive. But last October, we've just started an initiative in Guatemala where we're giving them mission trips. So we work with the school, and we started a program with the school where we would, basically be the fundraisers, and we would give the school the money so that they could empower their children to go do a mission trip or their senior hires or whatever. So what I didn't know when I started the program is that this little girl, Valerie, would be on the very first mission trip that we gave to Guatemalans. And she would then go and build a home like she received for another family in need. She's grown up, she was little and now she's in school. And I'm not sure if Valerie ever thought that she'd be able to give back what she once received from God, but God knew, God knew.
Absolutely.
And so there's that, and also I would say that one of the biggest joys I have right now is something I can't even see. It's something that, we've measured, but I can't see it face to face. We've worked in Haiti for so long, and we haven't been back since 2019. Demonstrations, they call them demonstrations, are really riots, Started in 2018, right after some of our teams were there. But we haven't been back since 2019, but we've still been supporting our work there because what we started there was so sustainable for our leaders there that it's still been sustaining ever since. So in a country where 85% of the neighborhoods in Port-au-Prince are controlled by gangs, we're still able to plant churches, train pastors, feed people. Feeding people is the major one. By the end of this year, we will have given 373,000 meals to people in need in that area from January to December 31. And these are people that are in their darkest moments. I mean, they can't go out. It is so bad there that they can't even travel their streets without fear of getting, ended. I don't know how to say it, just losing their life. Yeah. Unalived. Yeah. It's just terrible. We cannot imagine that in the U.S. or in Canada. We can't imagine living like that. Not able to go get food, not able to go get, but they come to church on Sunday. We're able to give them meal packs for the week, and they're able to survive. And so that's something I can't see face to face. And if I saw it with my own eyes, I would probably be a mess. I just wouldn't be able to hold it together. But the fact that there are people living today because we're able to give them food. Like I said, whoever thought that a little kid from Richmond, Virginia that grew up with nothing would be a part of something like that? Yeah. You never know what God's going to, God, you never know what God's going to do with your life. It's just unimaginable. greater than we could ever ask or imagine, for sure.
Yeah, amen. So if people want to find out more about Mission Discovery, where would they go?
You can go to missiondiscovery.org. We're on all the socials. I think it's at NISDIS Trips on social media, but missiondiscovery.org has all of our trips, all the ways you can get involved, and we love help. That's how we do what we do, is just volunteers. So yeah, join us.
All right, perfect. Well, one final question for you.
Mm-hmm.
What's the one thing you would tell people about God?
The one thing I would tell people about God is, gosh, there's so much. You've never gone too far. You are not forgotten. He's coming after you, and he loves you, and he wants you to be part of his family. He wants you to be part of the kingdom that he's building. He wants you to be part of what he's doing. He wants to be in your life.
Amen. Well said. Well, thank you so much, brother, for being on the podcast. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and God bless you and all you do for him.
Thank you so much. This has been great.
I was sitting in my kitchen alone the other night, thinking about old time, close call in my life. Through a crack in my past, I clearly saw the love of a friend got me through it all. A friend indeed is a true friend indeed. It is something that cannot be bought. When you're down on your knees, a friend is all you need. And that's when a little means a lot. Oh, that's when a little means a lot. Now there's a fine balance to where we all stand right now. The reflection in my mirror could be 6 feet in the ground, and the man in the mansion could be the man out on the street. The difference, the timing of a heartbeat. Oh, a friend in need is a true friend indeed, and it's something that cannot be bought. When you're down on your knees, a friend is all you need, and that's when a little means a lot. Oh, that's when a little means a lot. A friend in need is a true friend indeed. It is something that cannot be bought. When you're down on your knees, a friend is all you need, and that's when a little means a lot. Oh, that's when a little means a lot. Say it again. That's when a little means a lot.
I hope that you have enjoyed the last half hour. Thank you again to Refuge Ministries Canada for hosting the show. So until next time, may God richly bless you with peace, love, and happiness.
We at Refuge Ministries are so blessed by the success of Refuge Freedom Stories and podcasts. In addition, we focus on youth prison ministry, release kits, and many other diverse outreaches to the needs of our community. As a nonprofit, there are many costs involved, however, and we are asking for your support. Financial gifts can be made via our website at www.refugeministriescanada.com or by calling 519-701-0108. Your giving makes this work possible, and we thank you in advance for your support. That's 519-701-0108. God bless you.